Don't blame me.
No, I feel good. I was just honestly just like so excited to like be back, and like I really wanted to play, and I know that we have a quick turnaround on Wednesday, so it's important for me just kind of take care of my body. But yeah, I mean I feel great and I'm ready to go.
Hi, hello, my name's Kevin McAleese, I'm from TRT World. I just wanted to ask the US players whether or not you at the time heard or were aware of that chant of equal pay in the stadium. And I was wondering if you could talk a bit about the fight that you're behind and that you're leading, but beyond the equal pay, because there are obviously several issues in the international women's game that need to be addressed just beyond pay. And I was wondering if you could talk a bit more about that. And also, just finally, have you heard anything more from President Trump about celebrating your victory in the White House?
Oh, that was a lot of questions. What was the first one?
I was wondering if you heard the...
Oh, yeah. We did, and I thought it was like really powerful and cool to see all these people that are kind of rallying behind us and on our side. Like I said before, I think the conversation about whether we deserve it is over, and I think now it's kind of about action, and I think everyone can play a role in this, whether it's the fans coming to our game and supporting us. But I think also it's not, like you said, it's not just about paying us. I think it's about funding across the board with everything, like FIFA putting more money into the women's game, federations putting more money into the women's game, and the youth teams. Like, I think there's a lot of different areas that need to improve just beyond pay. In terms of Trump, we haven't really heard anything about it. I don't think we're too concerned. I think we're we celebrated, and now we're focusing on the NWSL season, and I think that's where everyone's mind's at now.
Just finally, to the other international players up there, I mean, how have your respective nations, if they have, been inspired? What's been the knock-on effect by this movement pushed by the US women's soccer team? Have you felt it in your respective countries?
Well, the argument and the discussion actually started before the World Cup, so we were all aware that the prize money really wasn't anywhere where it should have been, and this discussion actually started over more than 12 months ago. And I'm a part of our players' union back in Australia, the PFA, and we actually put a legal case together and took it to FIFA and said, there's actually some grounds to what's going on here. The percentage increase for the females was not adequate and anywhere near what the males had received for their World Cup. We weren't on an equal pay as per se argument. It was more we were unhappy with that percentage increase. So the discussion had happened a long time ago. But in saying that, having the girls win the World Cup and then come out with such a strong stance behind it, I think most countries are just on board. I couldn't name a country that isn't happy and glad to see what the Americans are doing. And collectively, we're going to support it and we're going to make a stance against it because, yeah, it's just not right. We feel strongly about it and we want to grow the game together.
For both Rose and Mallory, can you talk a bit about, your friendship and then, how that helped you both going into, your first World Cup and, being on such a big stage and just kind of how you supported each other through that process?
I can talk about Rose. No, me and Rose, she's like one of my best friends, and I have been so privileged and honored just to be around her. I don't know if you guys know, but when she scored her first goal, I started crying, just because I was like, I was like so happy for her, and I know that Rose has had like a tough path to get to where she is now, and I live with her at home, so just seeing all the work and just the way she's like truly grown into the player she is now, it's inspiring for me, and it makes me want to be better, and I know that like going through this whole World Cup process, it's just like it's amazing to have a friend like her because she gets it, she's young, and she knows me well, and yeah, it's been really nice. So thanks, Rosie.
Wow, it's hard to follow up. Yeah, I've always I know Mal is younger than me, but I've always like looked up to her the way that she like presents herself and carries herself. I think she got thrown into the limelight really young, and I think she has handled it so well. And I think she just keeps getting better and like makes everyone around her better, and is like just has high expectations for everyone, including herself. And it's been fun to see that, like with the 20s and then moving on to Spirit and with the national team. It's been awesome, and living with her and Sunny has been like the best thing ever. It's so nice to like be able to go home and have people that you're really close with and love. And I feel like when I always say this, but when you get to do like what you love with people you love, it makes it that much more fun.
Follow up to that, Mallory, what do you say after Rose, after that performance in the final, and how happy were you to, see her just really step up on that big stage?
I wasn't surprised, honestly. Like, I know that Rose is such a great player, and I had a feeling that was like her time, and that's exactly what she did. She rose to the occasion, and that's funny. She rose to the occasion. Yeah, that's stand-up. And she stepped up and she executed, and yeah, the rest is history.
This is for Rose and Mallory again. Follow up on the White House question. Describe this process for you two, visiting the White House possibly or not, knowing that the White House is right in your backyard.
Yeah, I think that honestly we haven't really like discussed it, and like Rose said earlier, that we're all kind of focused on our NWSL seasons, and that's my main focus right now. Is I want to be playing and I want to be getting better as a footballer. So yeah, I think right now the focus is exactly what can I do to step on the field, and that's maybe something we talk about down the road.
I want to ask this of Amy to start, and then any of the other non-American players, if you also want to answer or chime in, that's fine. Amy, it's your first season in the NWSL. What is the NWSL's reputation in Australia and other countries as far as the heights of professional women's soccer? And do you feel that the World Cup success is really going to bring in more? Like the corporate sponsors we've seen now sort of signing up, how positive does this whole last several months or weeks, feel for you as a player?
Yeah, coming to America is, so prestige. There's obviously a certain number of international spots to be here. So to come here into the World Champions is obviously really special, and something that, it's close. Oh, it's all our first season. So it's really special. We're all in it together, and you're coming here, you're getting world quality everywhere. Everyone across the park is world class. The facilities and the standard is just so much higher than back home, and something that we're trying to grow. But yeah, like I said, it's really special to be here, and it's definitely held in a really high regard back home.
On that, even for me, not having this be my first year in the NWSL, but after missing a season and then coming back into this kind of environment with the Spirit, it's so different than the experiences I've had in the past, whereas this is, my fourth year. To come into this kind of level and then have these kind of players around me to prepare for camp with Jamaica, I think it kind of helped my transition into the international game. So I love that I'm here. I think even my coaches on my international team have confidence when they send me back to my team that that I'm in a good environment to continue to grow. And it was cool even being in Orlando and having a few of my coaches there to see the game because they live there, and they're just really happy with the environment that I'm in, and I am too, obviously.
Come into the league. I decided to stay in Europe for a while, and I thought just before the World Cup was a perfect time to come into the NWSL. I think it's a powerhouse league. on the international stage, I think it was definitely going to get me ready for the World Cup, and I'm really privileged to be able to be here and have Richie as a coach and have such a great owner that's so willing to do everything possible to get me ready for the World Cup and is so willing to prepare me in whatever way I needed to. So for that, I was really grateful. I think when I look at it in a bigger scheme, I think it's definitely something Australia needs to strive for, like Amy touched on. I think the facilities are world-class and the way we get treated is world-class as well. So, mayonnaise.
Mallory, if you could just describe, what is it like to come out to sold-out crowd, coming back home, your games, and, how does that help you in terms of what you're trying to do on the field? How does having all that support really help you and push you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it helps all of us when you have a crowd that's supporting you, and I feel like you just kind of feed off that energy, and yeah. Sorry, that's all I have to say about that. I think it's great, and hopefully it continues.
Most players enjoy playing in front of big crowds, and especially a partisan crowd that's in your corner. Most top-class players really enjoy that experience. So.
This question's for Shayna. Obviously, there were reports before the World Cup that the Jamaican Federation wasn't really coming through with the funding. You had to go outside as a team to sort of get enough money to actually go do the job of being at the World Cup. What are the next steps for them to sort of improve things to get them to that's enough of a standard where that doesn't have to happen anymore?
I think the first step is taking the first step. I think right now we're in a place where there's a lot of conversation. Then obviously with a fellow CONCACAF team having this kind of success and just raising the awareness for women in general, I think that that's put a good pressure on the JFF to kind of not only talk about the things that they want to do for us, but actually make those things happen. So hopefully with this next year and kind of preparing for our next set of qualifiers, we see a little bit of change there. Even a little bit, I think a lot of us will be very grateful because we are in a very different place than a few other federations. So I think any improvement in that sense is something we'd definitely be grateful for.
I just had a quick follow-up with going to the World Cup first time for Jamaica. How much did that was the funding side or the support side from your federation itself on your mind, or were you guys just going out and enjoying it?
I think it, even leading into the World Cup, kind of our road to get to the World Cup from Europe to London. We started in Scotland and London. No one knows the stuff that we went through before FIFA kind of like took us under their wing. But I will say we're just hoping for improvement, basically. But I think that also just helped to make us stronger, helped make the team just get so much closer and the staff. And I think it made the time that we spent on the field more enjoyable because once we were out there, it was like none of that stuff mattered. So it was a really cool, fun experience for sure.
Darren Haynes again from WSA. So I'm just looking at all you ladies and so many members. This is for everybody. The table doesn't even fit everyone. What does this say about the Washington spirit, the fact that you have so much representation that was in the World Cup? It can be for anybody.
When Richie doesn't want to answer the question, he'll give it to me. I mean, you've seen this. Every team in the WSL has U.S. players, has international players. And so with the whole world tuning in and seeing them on the international stage, we've seen it across the league that attendance and engagement with our league has shot up. And for us, particularly like having Rose score in the final, that's huge. And I think
someone else asked it earlier, is what does it, mean to have all the support? And I think in the past, it's, for all of us, it's not foreign for us to play in front of big crowds. We've all done it in different environments, but particularly for, our countries. And so, you say like, oh, what does it mean to play in front of big crowds? And Richie said players love to play in front of big crowds, and it's not scary or unusual or even, not that it's not special, it is special, but it's, in the NWSL, it's almost been frustrating because it's like you have those same players that you saw in the World Cup, they're all here. Not all of them, but a large majority are here. So it's kind of like, why are people not engaging with it? And I think because of the World Cup, the entirety of it was so competitive and improved so much that I think that these, the engagement will stay. And I think having all these international players with such great play, such great character, such great stories, I think that is what will resonate with the community.
Kind of like a Rose Lavelle Day in Cincinnati. What was your reaction when you found out that they were doing that, and then how surreal of experience was that for you?
Yeah, I was pretty tired at that point. So at first I was kind of like, oh man. But it was really, really cool and really special. Everyone knows I'm obsessed with Cincinnati, and so to be able to go home and kind of have that homecoming and have their support throughout the World Cup meant the world to me. And then to be able to go back home and be able to thank everyone in person, that was the part that I feel like really meant the most to me, because I just wanted the whole city to know how much it meant to me. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
As a follow-up, did you ever imagine that you would have like a whole day dedicated to you in a city like that? How crazy was that to you?
I mean, knowing Cincinnati, it's such like a close-knit community, and I feel like every time like someone successful comes out from it, there's so much pride and happiness and like joy for them. So I'm not surprised, because I feel like I know Cincinnati well, and I know how much they like get behind people that go out and do things.
Every day at training has been Rose Lavelle Day since she's been back, I can tell you that.
This could be for anyone. Just wondering your view of the Budweiser deal and the ESPN deal that were recently announced. Is it something where you're celebrating, you're happy, or is it almost more of like a relief, like finally, particularly the ESPN deal, because there was no previous television deal? Just what's the view of those two sponsorship agreements?
I mean, I think any exposure we can get is like wonderful. And I think it's frustrating. It has been frustrating that sometimes you like turn on ESPN and there's like, cornhole or like cricket. And I'm like, why? Like, no, cricket, nothing against those sports. Trust me. Yeah. Oh, really? But like, seriously, like, I'm like, I want people to see like what we can do, and just like how great each and every one of these players is. Like, everyone is saying like how competitive and how great this league is, and I think people just need to see that. And now that we have the option and they actually can do that, it's absolutely amazing. And again, like, I think it's gonna just continue to grow, and hopefully, and I mean, I don't know, maybe next year we'll have more exposure. But yeah, I think it's really amazing. Yeah.
I'm actually shook the fact that there hasn't been a broadcast. You right there, Amy? There hasn't been a broadcast deal, to be honest, with the league and the exposure. It's honestly mind-blowing to think that we have incredible players that just aren't getting the exposure that they need to. And I think, being Americans, there's so much sport going on, and considering that football is such a world's game, it's not televised, I just am mind blown. So I think it's incredible for the league. It's something that really needs to happen, and it should have happened a really long time ago. And to have Budweiser, such a big brand, I think is something that's really good. And Hopefully the win from the national team is going to keep the momentum going, but it can't just be a once every 4 years kind of thing or once every 2 years kind of thing. So it just needs to keep rolling. I think with the success of the women's game all across the board, not just with soccer, has been incredible, especially in Australia, but here is starting to pick up. So it's nice to finally see the support of everyone.
Andy, this question's for you. As the captain of the Spirit, you guys keep talking about wanting to grow the league. Have you guys had a conversation as a team about your first steps on how you guys want to do that? And what would that first step be if you've had one?
We think that the best way to grow the league, like Richie said, is to put on a quality product. And I think, other people have said this, the best way to get people's support is just excellence, no matter what obstacles you're facing. So I think as players, we want to play. And I think there will be other options and other ways that we can put ourselves out there and make changes. But, a lot of that, we're actually very thankful for Steve Baldwin, our owner, who's come in this year, who's helping us he's showing us all these different ways that we can change. And he's kind of taking that on his shoulders, and that takes a lot off ours and enables us to just focus on what we do best is we play. So that's our main focus.
I feel like all my questions are follow-ups, but a quick follow-up to that, either Andy or Richie. Having the team have a sponsor like Geico, which is new this year, for you specifically back to a grassroots level rather than a league, what does that show from ownership and Steve and everything to have that big of a sponsor?
I think that's just one example of all the work that Steve is putting in and that he's getting success. And that's the thing that I've told people about the turnaround from this year is I am so happy here and love our ownership, love our leadership. And it's only this first step because all the people who are working for us now are saying this is only the bare minimum now and we're going to push this so far. And so, having, the Geico sponsorship is incredible, and that's definitely, only the first thing, and there's going to be a lot more to come, and it's thanks to Steve.
Even today, we were talking to the players before we went out to train. I've been involved in football for a long time at a lot of different levels, and I've never known an ownership group or an executive branch to be so committed to a team and to a bunch of players as Steve Baldwin, Larry Best, and the rest of the executive staff have been fantastic. And it's humbling when you've got someone who actually owns the football club and puts enormous amounts of money out of his own pocket to be working harder than you and working harder than anybody at the football club. And as Sully just said, he is so committed to the players. And the reason he's so committed to the players because he believes in them. He absolutely 100% believes in these players and recognizes that they are world-class talents. He feels that they are underpaid, under-recognized, underappreciated, and he's doing everything within his power to change that. And since we came on board as a different leadership, we've been driven to give these players the recognition we think they deserve, give them the platform to move forward from. He's constantly looking for improved sponsorship deals, improved revenues that now comes down to the players where the equal pay, he's not interested in equal pay. He's interested in unequal pay. He wants them to make more than the men. And he just wants to put a product out there that they are appreciated for, they're recognized for. And he's working constantly. He's not here today, probably because he's meeting with somebody else. He's meeting with somebody to try and to get something into this football club that helps them concentrate on the product that's on the field, and they are able to perform with a confidence and self-belief and freedom to do what they're good at. And that's been a big factor, and that's the mission for this football club. We're 6 months in since we took over, and we hope that this quality grows, continues to grow, and there's a buy-in from these players because they actually realize that they are appreciated, they are revered, they want a crowd fan base that supports them unequivocally as well. And we are going to continue to work everything we can to make these players loved by everybody, not just by the ownership.
Asking me that because every time I say yes.
I'm worried about you, Rosie.
Yeah, I feel good, and I'm ready to do whatever is needed of me on Wednesday.
Mal's playing too. Solly's playing too. Lagarzo's playing too. Oh, you have a question?
Okay, sorry. I'll keep going. Welcome back, everyone. So when I spoke to Steve Baldwin a couple weeks ago, he said he wanted the players to get recognized in the community. He wanted people to stop you on the streets and ask for autographs, ask for photos, all the way from World Cup champions to the rookies on the team. Have you felt a difference in recognition or appreciation from the community, from the fans, from the media, maybe from? Has there felt like a difference since kind of your World Cup experience?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Steve is massive on not just being a role model on the field, but being a role model off the field. And I think a few of us live in a complex, and just walking Petey, our dog, down the road, we've been stopped a few times by younger girls asking for photos. So it's incredible to see that. I've always loved being a role model for younger people, so it's nice to be able to be an international player, come from a different country, and people already know who you are.
Confetti coming from the sky when you lift the trophy, but what is that magic World Cup moment for you? What was that moment? Maybe you were quiet in the room and back home and it synced in, or what was that moment, that special moment that will be there for you?
I think for me, it took me a while to realize what was happening. After we won, I was crying, and then I would be happy the next minute. It was a roller coaster of emotion. But I think what was so special for me was when we were in New York and was the parade. Just to see how many people, there was millions of people screaming at us, and just to see the support that we had, it was just so amazing. And yeah, that's something I will never ever forget. Just the whole atmosphere of that parade was so amazing. I was not expecting that whatsoever.
Yeah, there wasn't ever really time that it hit me, which was really weird just because I thought that I'd be really emotional and crying and all that. But I think I always say I feel I remember the journey more so than the end point. So I just feel the whole time leading up to that final game, even the camps previous to it, I feel those are the moments that I remember most, is all the work that we put in leading up to that point, and all the sounds cheesy, but the memories that we made leading up to that point, the jokes. I don't know. Yeah, I just feel I remember my journey more so than the end point, I guess.